The Durian Heat, bringing big ideas and critical opinions in Southeast Asia.
Hey, this is Arlene.
Hi, this is Grace.
And of course, you're with us on our Durian Heat, where we bring you news from Southeast Asia. Not news, but mainly discussion.
Right.
And of course, today we are going to talk about a topic that a lot of Malaysians are really scratching their head.
Yes,
They don't
at
really
the moment.
understand it, but it's definitely affecting Malaysia tremendously. We are talking about the weakening of the ringgit.
And then it's our daily lives, basically. We use money, our daily usage for anything that it comes. And it's just becoming weakening. And a lot of people are questioning, even though they have very vague ideas about it. So today we're going to break down into a few sections and then to see what is the really cause of it and what we can do about this.
Just a bit of, I guess, basic 101 on currency. A lot of people might not realize, but the currency that all of us have is actually the value always fluctuate or go down,
Right.
depending on a host of reason. And of course, the value of money is actually determined by the foreign exchange market, or forex they call it. It's a global decentralized market for trading of currencies. In terms of volume of trading, it is by far the largest market in the world, and the main participants in the market are definitely the larger international banks. Financial centers around the world functions as an anchor of trading between a wide range of multiple types of buyers and sellers around the clock, with the exceptions of course, the weekends. And the foreign exchange market determines the relative value of different currencies.
Right. So here the why trading these currencies, and like you mentioned before, forex is the world's largest market, and it carries about 3.2 trillion US dollars in daily volume and the 24-hour market. So there are sort of five the key differences between forex and other equity markets. These are many firms don't charge commissions. You pay only the asked spreads. And second one is forex is 24 hours trading, and you dictate when the trade and how to trade. And the other one is you can trade on the leverage, but this can magnify the potential gains and losses. And then you can focus on picking from a few currencies rather than from all 5,000 stocks. And lastly, forex is accessible. You don't need to have a lot of money to get started.
In fact, when people talk about free market, this is the closest thing that you can say on free market. It's the perfect competition, notwithstanding currency intervention by central banks, of course. In terms of the value of ringgit, why it drops so low, there's a host of different reasons. Of course, you can mention political confidence towards the country, and also currency confidence towards the ringgit,
Right.
but as well as other external factors that countries cannot I would say control. So when you talk about currency appreciation and depreciation, there's a lot of different reasons. So for example, how currency appreciates, a currency appreciates is as a result of increased demand for the currency on world markets. Its value in the world markets increases. The increase in demand can occur for a host of different reasons. And because of that, I think it's important for us to break down the different reasons why some currencies are extremely strong. For example, the Japanese yen, it is so strong even until now. It's one of the highest, well, it's one of the strongest currency in the world, I would say.
But then Japanese yen, the recent months, it's been dropping because of also because of the economic status in the Japanese. But I will say the most sort of strongest dollar is still the US dollar and the Singaporean dollars. Those two are the two are the very strong currencies worldwide, and the people just want to have a job there because of the currencies as well.
Yeah. And just a bit of a breakdown on reason why currency can appreciate. Number one is a country's exports are high. The buyers of these exports need its currency to pay for those exports. So when a country has very good products to export to other countries. This is where the people have confidence in using, let's say, ringgit. So our exports volume needs to be increased in a way for people to have confidence in the ringgit. And second reason is country's central bank increases interest rates. People will want the currency to deposit in a bank to earn the higher interest rates.
Right.
This is where Bank Negara has a really strong position to play in terms of ensuring the currency of the ringgit currency remain strong and high. And the third reason is the employment and per capita income in the country increase. The demand for its goods and services increases, along with demand for the country's currency in the local market. And this is a bit tricky, the third reason, because when you want to measure employment and per capita income, Malaysia is definitely at a very good end.
Yep.
But at the same time, the demand of the country's currency in the local market depends solely on the confidence of people have towards the political and economic environment.
That's very interesting.
Of the country. This
Yes.
is where it's a bit tricky, and this is where a lot of reasons people can pinpoint. For Malaysia, later on we will discuss
Right.
reasons like the GST, 1MDB, and all that. And the next reason is when the demand for the currency is high in foreign exchange market. This is external reason.
Right.
You cannot influence people to buy your currency. There must be a reason why people want to buy your currency. Confidence is the main reason. People buy Sing dollar, people buy US dollar because they know it will not be fluctuate that high and low too much. It will always be constant.
So that means that they have the credibility from the people. And it's very interesting mention how we say about confidence in our own currency. And when we talk about the ringgit in general, how many people have confidence in ringgit? How many people can probably say, hey, I have ringgit in my wallet? People rather say, hey, I have US dollar or Singaporean dollar in my wallet. And that comes with the credibility and then the potential that what they can use with that currency.
But confidence in currency comes with a lot of other baggages that the government need to address.
Right,
And I think the main baggage would be political stability. Singapore and the US have very strong political stability and economic stability as well. So it's one of those reasons that is it changes all the time. So the government need to always ensure that it's always constant and stable.
It is very scary to look at the whole size, as in US is so gigantic, but Singapore is just a small city, but that it still holds one of the strongest currency. It is very also interesting that people want to purchase Singaporean dollars, and in fact, you can also see a lot of people do open up or create their foreign account in local, so they can save the US dollars or Singaporean dollars rather than ringgits.
I give example of Canadian dollar and as well as the euro. The depreciation of a country's currency refer to, of course, the decrease in the value of the country's currency. For instance, if the Canadian dollar depreciates relative to the euro, the exchange rate will rises. It takes more Canadian dollars to purchase 1 euro.
Right.
So when the Canadian dollar depreciates relative to the euro, the Canadian dollar becomes more competitive because the price of Canadian goods when exchanged to euro will be cheaper, leading to larger Canadian exports. See, there are countries that purposely want to lower the value of their currency is because that you will be more competitive in the export market.
Yes.
And for a lot of countries, I remember learning that one time Japan was losing out on the export market because the currency yen is was too strong, and they cannot be producing goods in Japan because it will be sold at a more expensive rate compared to its competitor, mainly from China. So what it does is it outsources all its factory manufacturing in China, in other places where it's much more cheaper to produce. So that's the Japanese way of solving the problem.
That sounds very relaxing because their currency is so high to compete to the other market. I mean, in an easy word, they just brought it down the currency level.
Yeah.
But then Will that ever happen to ringgit? That's another question.
The problem with ringgit is too low and has been low for quite some time,
Yep.
that it's actually affecting our economy in a negative way rather than
For sure.
positive way. Of course, you will have more tourists, especially from Singapore,
Yep.
going shopping for Malaysia's goods. But you also have people questioning whether Malaysia's economy is at a healthy rate or not. So these are problems that we need to address. Anyway, we'll take one short break. When we return, we'll discuss on the weakening of Malaysia's ringgit.
The Durian Heat, bringing big ideas and critical opinions in Southeast Asia.
Hey, this is Arlene.
Welcome back. This is Grace.
And of course, you are with us on the weakening and falling ringgit.
Right.
A discussion on why this is happening in the first place. So, Grace, why this is happening?
Well, there are, as we mentioned before, there are a lot of reasons and the facts that that led to loss of confidence in ringgit, as well as why ringgit has been dropping, and it is actually the worst since 2010 February. And again, this is happening, and a lot of people and also analysts have produced the reasons why, and one of the reasons could be the oil and the political factor, as well as the other external factors.
So the Malaysian ringgit has plunged to its lowest level, like you said, since a few years ago.
Right.
And there's a brutal sell-off across emerging market assets, and strategies saying that the pain may not be over for the currency. In fact, the ringgit has declined 10% against the US dollar. One US dollar right now would probably be around 3.8, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, 3.7 or 8.
That's a lot of money.
Now we have to think of just the times 4 times. It was just 3 times before. Now
Yes.
it's 4 times.
The worst that we ever had against the US dollar was back in 1997, when we had the economic crisis in Southeast Asia. That was the worst, but this seems to be repeating the same kind of situation where the ringgit has been really, really weak. In fact, according to what is being said here, that foreigners hold almost 50% of Malaysia's government bond, an exceptionally high level compared with other emerging markets in the
Right.
region, placing the currency in a precarious position. So Malaysia's deteriorating economic fundamentals, seen in surging levels of household debt and the risk of credit rating downgrade, exacerbates the risk of outflow from the country's debt market. So these are external factors that a lot more foreigners are holding our currency, as well as we are in high debt, and as well as our credit rating has downgraded to a very low rating that is affecting people's confidence in Malaysia economy.
In fact, the ringgit is lower than the Thai currency. And in Southeast Asia, when you look at the economical sort of status, Malaysia is going in advance, more advanced than in Thailand. But when it comes to currency, it is far behind that Thai currencies. And that comes with a lot of credibility, and then losing the confidence of financial market in Malaysia. And that also comes with the economic and the management of the financial part, and how the ringgit is dealt with other currencies around the world.
And one of the reasons that people have problems with the Malaysia currency is because of the drop in oil prices. As we mentioned earlier, exports is one of the reason, or one of the key reason a currency can be strengthened, or it can be appreciated. The drop in oil prices is definitely a big blow towards the oil industry in Malaysia. And because of that, our oil export hasn't been as robust as we want it to be.
Right.
And Malaysia rely a lot, I think probably around 30% of our economy on oil and gas exports. And for us not getting enough revenue for oil and gas exports, it shows that we definitely cannot rely as much as before when it comes to oil.
Yeah, and then oil. I mean, what caused the oil drop in the prices as well is also because the supply has been exceeding the demand, and mostly due to high production of oil in USA as well. So this the crude oil has been fallen to 4-year low already, and then the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries has so far declined to cut back on its production of oil. So that has also caused the drop in oil prices as well. And just to go back to the factors that has a drop in the ringgit value is partially because of the oil, and also because of the government's confidence as well, the political status in the country.
And talking about political confidence in the country, a lot of the problem has stemmed from Najib's administration, the weakening of Najib's leadership, as well as key pending issue that hasn't been solved, like the issue regarding on 1MDB especially, has been causing a lot of the diminishing of confidence by investors. Besides that, the domestic market in Malaysia has been impeached by the GST and the high cost of living, and due to that, a lot of Malaysians and a lot of people have not been having that much confidence in the Malaysian market compared to probably the Singapore's market.
Maybe that's why a lot of people are starting to save with other Singaporean dollars or US dollars than in ringgit, because they know that all those dollars will have its own values, and it goes even higher and higher, whereas ringgit is dropping at the moment. And it happened again since after a few years in 2010, and it is very serious, because if it just goes on, it will affect the whole nation, and in terms of economy and in terms of the stability of the companies.
But at the same time, I think central bank play a really vital role in ensuring that the currency in Malaysia stay stable. In fact, according to Zeti, that Malaysia has to she actually have to always tell exporters to never rely on the exchange rate to gain competitiveness, especially when a lot of the Malaysian exporters are getting the hit on the low ringgit. According to Bank Negara Malaysia Governor Zeti Akhtar Aziz, she also said that it must be gained through the other measures by enhancing productivity, being innovative, and enhancing management of their businesses. The value of exports exceeds the total gross domestic product, though commodities such as palm oil and crude oil are main shipments. Electrical and electronics make up a third of the country's exports, following anemic demands for personal computers. For personal computers, palm oil export contract from a year earlier for 5 successive months through June. And the reality is, Malaysian economy has been not that bad, you know. It's just that when it comes to the ringgit, it seems to be weaker and weaker.
Yep. You mentioned about the Bank Negara, and in fact, the Bank Negara Malaysia kept the overnight policy rate about at 3.25%. And it also said in the statement in the Kuala Lumpur, the decision was predicted by all 19 economists surveyed. And also, the Malaysian ringgit is Asia's worst performing currency at the moment in the past 6 months, and it had had a slump in the crude prices and investor concern on the oil exporter finances. And then with above around 5% growth and also inflation at the slowest since 2009, Bank Negara won't be any hurry to join more than the dozen central banks adding the stimulus so far this year.
So far, a lot of people are telling that why don't we peg our ringgit to the US dollar like last time. But that's actually not the wisest way of doing things. In fact, the Central Bank of Malaysia hasn't really intervened in the foreign exchange market to cushion the ringgit's fall in order to correct the external balance given the existing current economic conditions. The preferred option is to allow the exchange rate to adjust by itself. So they're relying on the free economy instead of trying to artificially somehow control the currency value of the ringgit. In fact, Zeti said that the ringgit will continue to swing due to capital flows in and out of the economy in line with the rise and fall in the global cash supply. What they are focusing right now is orderly financial markets, and they don't want to focus on any specific level of the exchange rate. If it is highly disruptive and disorder, the central bank will step in, but otherwise it is very much determined by the market.
Right.
Yeah, so this is the closest thing ever you can ever have on capitalism, which is the currency exchange rate.
Well, it was said that they will rely on economic status rather than having the fake sort of exchange. But that's a good method. But how long can we wait with this drop in the ringgit value? Because people just no longer see that as money. They see as just a paper.
That's true. In fact, it has fell so low that a lot of people are starting to question the confidence of the political environment in this country, whether the Najib administration can really deal with our economy or not. To me personally, I think we are doing not that bad. The only thing that is bad right now, of course, is the falling oil prices. But other than that, in fact, our FDI has somehow increased. It's not decreasing. So it shows that people are having confidence in investing in Malaysia. It's just that our currency has dropped. And it can be a good thing, meaning cheaper prices for foreigners. But of course, it's bad for Malaysians because then you cannot go overseas as frequently as you want to.
Yep. And also, talking about that, we will be talking about this more after a few segments. But then we can also not to forget about the budget 2015 that was tabled, and as well as a GDP implementation. GST implementation, as well as the 1MDB, the controversial issues that has been going on in Malaysia.
So we'll take one short break. After that, we will discuss on the topic that Grace have shared just now.
The Durian Heat, bringing big ideas and critical opinions in Southeast Asia.
Hey, this is Arlene. And
Hi, this is Grace.
And of course, you're with us again on the Durian Heat, where we bring you discussion about Southeast Asia. So, on our topic regarding on the weakening of ringgit, Grace, we talk about the falling on oil prices and the lack of intervention by the Bank Negara by seeing that Zeti wants to leave it to the free market to decide on the currency ringgit. What else that has caused or could be one of the factors for Malaysian ringgit to drop?
Don't you think it's the political confidence, as well as a lot of controversial issues have been issued, such as 1MDB, and we had the implementation of GST, and also whether the budget 2015 was tabled. A lot of people have questions regarding this, even though the budget 2015 is available. Still, a lot of people have questioned where money is going to.
Yeah. And talking about the political confidence in this country, I think the biggest critic would be Tun Mahathir. To him, he solely believed that the weakening of ringgit is because of Najib administration not being able to address key domestic problem, especially the 1MDB, and also of course for him to impose the GST is definitely a step backward to Malaysia. But I don't know, you agree with Tun Mahathir or not?
Well, a lot of comments that the critics have been made by Tun Mahathir, and this is one of the highlights because it is coming from the Malaysian point of view. And when Tun Mahathir says something that we're really, it's very negative. Yeah, he was not really fully supporting of the ringgit drop, and he was also criticizing the our current prime minister Najib at the same time for his method of controlling the country. So that also caused the whole that led to the drop in the ringgit as well.
Well, I always take Mahathir's words with a grain of salt. I don't really fully accept his explanation of the falling of ringgit. Of course, you cannot control in terms of the falling of oil prices. It's falling all over the world. It's something that Malaysia cannot control. But one thing that Malaysia can control is how they can increase their productivity and have better exports, just like countries that do not have oil production. For example, South Korea is one of the good example where it can be successful and have a stronger won, right?
Yeah, won.
I hope I didn't pronounce it. I was almost saying yen. A stronger won through productivity, increase in productivity, innovations, and technological investment.
Yep, and to Mahathir, who was our a former prime minister, he pointed out that the ringgit had dropped by 70 cents recently, and that has caused a lot of losses worth millions to the countries. And when the ringgit was saved from foreign currency speculators, billions of government money was saved. Many businessmen who were bankrupt or almost bankrupt were saved in 1998. But forget that, because that happened during my time. So that means he's comparing how he ruled the country and the current prime minister. So that also shows that he said the country knew that where the money was invested during his time. But where's the transparency? He's asking for transparency where the money goes, and that goes to our controversial issue, which is 1MDB.
1MDB has caused a lot of political confidence in this country to drop really, really high, partly because of the high debt that it entails, and also partly because I think for people, for politicians like Tun Mahathir, he has his own personal vendetta against the current prime minister's leadership, and I don't blame him from that.
Right.
I think a lot of people are unhappy with Najib's administration for various reasons, either human rights reasons, personal reasons, or economic reasons. But if we want to peel off those layers and really focus on how politics has impacted the ringgit value, I think one of the main focus would be on the confidence of how Malaysia politics has become. I mean, if you look at it as a whole, Malaysia politics hasn't been stable for quite some time.
True.
People, I mean, it's quite healthy for people to criticize the current government, especially living in a democratic country. But it's not healthy when we have flip-flop policies. We have ministers that shouldn't say things, and they keep on barking things that are extremist in their views, and we have politicians not making the right decision for the country, and we don't have like a stability, a kind of political stability where people can lean back on, and for Najib, I think it's important for him to be transparent on issues regarding on 1MDB especially.
Yep, and not only the 1MDB, but when we talk about the budget 2015, the government budgetary plan were based on the assumption that this oil prices would be at the $100 per market in 2015. So therefore, this sharp drop in the oil prices led to serious concerns over the government's ability to meet this budgetary commitments and the fiscal targets. So that means even though the budget 2015 was tabled, all these plans that were made beforehand will not be able to meet the expectation because of the sharp drop in oil prices, because those plans were made based on the assumption that it will meet certain the dollar per market. But however, it looks like it's unlikely to happen anytime soon. So it will be wiser to revise the budget plan again, and then to come up with a sort of a strategical plan according to the oil prices.
So oil prices is definitely one of, I think, the major problem, and I don't think Malaysian government can do anything with it as much as they try to do something on it. One thing for sure, we'll discuss later on what is the impact of the weakening of ringgit and how can Malaysia solve this problem.
The Durian Heat, bringing big ideas and critical opinions in Southeast Asia.
Hey, this is Arlene.
Hi, this is Grace.
You're back again with us, as of course, on the topic regarding on the weakening of the Malaysian ringgit. So, Grace, besides the political confidence in this country that is really, really low right now, what would be the impact for all these different reasons? You know, oil prices, the lack of intervention by Bank Negara, and all that.
The impact comes directly to the people of the country, because after all, we are the one who pays for the taxes, and we purchase the product from outside on inside. So the impact is on us, especially not the high income family or high incomers, but especially the average citizens of Malaysia will be impacted, especially after the implementation of GST, and also the budget 2015 was tabled, and also drop in the oil prices. All these elements have been affecting the lives of citizens in Malaysia. Even though the economic status in Malaysia doesn't look very bad, or it doesn't look unstable at the moment, but however the impact is directly on the citizens.
I feel that when it comes to the impact, it's much more towards the domestic market rather than the export market. In fact, it's actually a plus for export market. Malaysia will be much more competitive in terms of exporting its product because of the cheaper rate. If Malaysian ringgit drop, meaning that let's say a price of Maggi noodles because it's being made in Malaysia. Let's say the price of Maggi noodle used to be 3 ringgit. Which is 3.8 ringgit, which is $1. Then because of the fall, it would 3.8 ringgit, which is $1 and something cents, right? But now it will be just $1 per packet. So it's really cheap.
It is very cheap, but will that, I don't know, it will be very ridiculous to say this, but will that actually attract more foreign investors? I mean, or perhaps the foreigners, tourists to come into Malaysia?
Yes, it will increase in FDI. That's why, surprisingly, because of the weakening of the ringgit, our FDI inflow has been quite high actually. In fact, tourism has been doing well too, especially from our neighboring country, Singapore. They have seen Malaysia as an attractive place for shopping. So
and also
it's not all bad. But in terms of domestic population, it is bad.
Right.
For you to go to overseas right now is so expensive.
So it's not from the outsider to come in, but it is the people who are in the country who want to go outside. It'll be very difficult for them. Now they have to not only double, not only triple, now they have to quadruple the value of the ringgit.
Yeah, that's true. And what we are seeing right now is definitely it's not a good thing for Malaysians, especially with the GST and all that. Everything is going to be extremely expensive. It will be an increase in the cost of living for majority of Malaysians.
For sure, and we really hope that with the support of the Bank Negara Malaysia as well, they come up with perhaps the firmer decision on the ringgit credibility as well as the confidence that people will actually buy more ringgit rather than US dollars and Singaporean dollars.
You know what? If you look at the broader view on the currency trade in Southeast Asia, it's not just Malaysia, it's also being affected countries like the Philippines, Jakarta, and even Myanmar. For example, the Jakarta Composition Index tumbled 2.3% for a total of 6.1% drop so far, as Indonesia's rupiah hit its lowest against the US dollar since 1998. And of course, with the Philippines currency tapping its weakest against the US dollar since early 2014 during the taper tantrum. So I don't want to see this as a Malaysian problem. I think it's an Asia or Southeast Asia problem that we need to address. It's more towards the external reason. Of course, the oil prices would be one of the key external reason. In fact, if you look at Chad, which is the Myanmar
The
currency value, it has tumbled quite a lot. And this is definitely affecting the Myanmar economy as well.
But Myanmar has a sort of unstable economic status at the moment, so it is very understandable. But coming from Thailand, even though Thailand has also its own transition when it comes to government, still Thailand, the baht currency is still higher than Ringgit. So, but there again, you have a point where when it comes to Southeast Asia, the currencies are way lower or even weaker than the other, for example, Australian dollars, American dollars, Canadian dollars. So it's way lower than the other currencies.
So I think for analysts, they probably won't just focus on Malaysia. I think they would focus on Southeast Asia as a whole and see how the trend is being affected and how it will affect other countries as well.
So the future of the ringgit, future of Malaysia, hope that there are still in fact the positive factors that will support the ringgit. For example, the decent economic growth expected for 2015, and also lower government external debt and the credible monetary audit authority that has led to relatively low inflation for over the years. However, I hope that the prediction and also the expectation of the ringgit value can be increased at least a few percent. Then that will give the relief to the citizen of Malaysia.
So there you go. In terms of the way countries' currency working is very complicated. I mean, for example, if you look at Singapore, they actually control their currency very rigorously. Early this year, they had also some inflation and currency problem, but the Central Bank of Singapore take a step ahead by easing the bandwagon on their currency. So Malaysia might not follow that footstep, but in a way that we can learn from Singapore on the way forward to control and reduce the slippery slope of the Singapore dollar appreciation against the US dollar. So in a way that I would say this is definitely 101 for Malaysians and Southeast Asian on understanding the currency depreciation and appreciation.
Yes. So, well, for the country with the depreciated currency, exports will increase in relation to imports for sure, as exports become cheaper and imports become more expensive. But with this current situation here in Malaysia, we still have a hope that we can still go up in terms of the currency. However, well, we just hope that the government comes with a better solution or better policies in order to make ringgit more valuable.
Definitely. That's all from me, Arlene, today.
And this is Grace.
Ciao.